A prominent literary and philosophical figure of the 20th century brought about the concept of Kafkaesque. Kafkaesque is used to describe the bureaucratic nature of capitalistic judiciary and the government systems. The system where no individual has a grasp of what is going on and the system does not care. In his novel The Trial, Joseph K., the protagonist, was arrested from his home, and the long, absurd trial that he is subjected to doesn't make any sense. The trial is full of corruption, and finally he is guilty of his conviction. That does ring a bell. But thankfully, the protagonist of our story today does not face the conviction. GN Saibaba is out of the jail after 10 years after facing charges under the section of the draconian POTA turned UAPA Act. This DU professor was used to teaching English and was arrested by Maharashtra police for suspected Maoist links and later sentenced to life imprisonment in 2017. It is alleged that Sai Baba and two others were in the possession of Naxal literature and with the intent and purpose of circulation among underground Naxalis and the residents of the districts with the aim to incite the people to resort to violence. The courts found out that the prosecution has failed to link the accused with the specific acts of violence or terrorism, which is essential to convict a person under this anti-terrorism law. But why did the government rush to the Supreme Court to ensure that GN Saibaba was not released from prison, citing the gravity of the crime it had charged him with? Is it the state's job to worry about the charge? In the world of Kafka, these notions are a close mimic of an ant colony, where the individuals are sacrificed for the good of the nation, maybe to serve the leaders of the dystopia. In Sai Baba's poem, written inside the confines, he says, "How painful to talk across the window of surveillance over the daggers hanging on my head from behind, seeking to stab our hearts in cold blood." Whether you are enjoying this on a phone or a laptop, someone might be watching. Joseph K. was also being watched by someone. In the novel by George Orwell, 1984, there is a concept of the big brother is watching you. The term big brother here comes to signify government control of and intrusion into individual lives.
He gazed up at the enormous face. 40 years it had taken him to learn what kind of smile was hidden beneath the dark mustache. Oh, cruel, needless misunderstanding. Oh, stubborn, self-willed exile from the loving breast. 2 gin-scented tears trickled down the sides of his nose. But it was all right. Everything was all right. The struggle was finished. He had won the victory over himself. He loved Big Brother.
Let's see how. Dr. Shashi Tharoor, who introduced a bill in 2022 to repeal the UAPA, said it had opened the door for gross abuse of power, interfering with privacy and liberty of the individuals. The UAPA contravenes constitutionally mandated provisions which protect against arbitrary or unlawful interference with a person's privacy. The Act also allows for searches, seizures and arrests based on personal knowledge of the police without written validation from any superior judicial authority. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, amongst other judges, have expressed concerns over the UAPA and its potential for misuse and wrongful incarceration. For example, when talking about terrorist theory, what kind of literature is terrorist literature? What theories influence young minds? And what kind of propaganda is perceived to be a terrorist act? These are concepts which are ill-defined and easily and often misused. Potential terrorism, for example, is a term that violates the principle of proportionality in punishment. It is said that UAPA is not able to create an appropriate balance between national security concerns and individual rights. While there is an increasing rate of people being put behind bars for this, the conviction rate is a meager 2.4%. This act can potentially lead to arbitrary arrest and prolonged detention without trial, where the law is criticized for making the process itself a punishment. Is it a grave miscarriage of justice? You decide. Is it a weapon to keep people entangled in the legal system and place people in jails for as long as the state wants? The law has undergone 5 amendments, and with each modification making it more and more stringent. As Shashi Tharoor says, such a law, which is a weapon of misuse and abuse, has no place in the democracy. It is therefore important to repeal this legislation.
Where I am not able to understand. I am not able to understand because I still feel that I am there in this notorious undercell. I am not able to come to terms with the reality that is in front of me even now.
The ambiguous nature of the section allows for the law enforcement to detain individuals for an extended period of time without requiring substantial proof, putting them in agonizing legal limbo, resulting in them languishing in detention for years, often without any actual access to bail. Kapil Sibal said the imbalance between the fundamental freedoms and the larger interest of the state is heavily skewed against the citizen. The state uses the law as an instrument of oppression, making democracy its victim. Since the whims of the state were entertained for a decade, the justice delayed is justice denied for our protagonist. With him facing several medical challenges, seeing his co-accused die in prison due to lack of medical attention, being denied bail to visit his dying mother, and facing a delay of 2 days in releasing him as the order was delayed due to the dysfunctional internet in the jail. In this digital India and several other challenges, we are brought back to the situation of the Kafka, observing how any human can deteriorate into a state of neurosis by a simple change of fate. They can't possibly understand or control any of it. And in the confrontation with the absurd, success is impossible and pointless. GN Saibaba said, "Today I am alive before you, but my organs are failing me." His tale proves that while the authorities have their resources, individuals have their wits and persistence. But the question that we have to ask ourselves is, do those people on the outside ever think of those on the inside?
Perhaps the entire world knew the case was a fabricated case, even 10 years before.